Did you know that ancient Egyptians brewed a beer so good they drank it every day? Well, today we're taking a journey back in time to explore the world of Egyptian beer. In ancient Egypt, beer wasn't just a beverage, it was a way of life. The ancient Egyptians kept records of brewing dating back to as early as 1800 BC, with some historians even claiming that beer predates written history. So how did they make this beloved drink? Let's find out. First, the Egyptians used grain, most commonly barley, to brew their beer. The grain was carefully selected and then soaked in water to start the malting process. This process allowed starches in the grain to convert into fermentable sugars. Once the grain had germinated, it was dried and crushed into a coarse flour, which was then mixed with water to form a dough. Sometimes they would add ingredients like dates or herbs to give the beer a unique flavor, but evidence of these additives is scarce. This dough was then baked into loaves and crumbled into water in large vats, creating a thick, cloudy liquid. At this point, the magic of fermentation began. Natural yeasts, likely from the environment or carried over from previous batches, transformed the sugary liquid into beer. The Egyptians didn't have modern yeast cultivation techniques, so they relied on these natural yeasts to do the heavy lifting. The fermentation process took about a day or two, and the result was a cloudy, low-alcohol beer, likely between 2 and 4% ABV. Once fermentation was complete, the mash was strained through baskets or sieves to remove any solid residues. This produced a cloudy, unfiltered beer that was typical of ancient Egyptian brewing. The liquid was then stored in sealed pottery jars, sometimes buried in the ground to keep cool. Some beers were consumed fresh, while others were aged for a few weeks for a stronger flavor. The tools used for brewing were typically made of wood or stone. Large ceramic vats were used to hold the fermenting beer, and evidence from sites like Hierakonpolis showed that industrial-scale production was happening as early as 3500 BCE. Wooden paddles were used to stir the mash, and fire-heated stones were sometimes used to control temperatures during the malting process. Brewing beer was not just a job for men. Women also played an important role in the production process, making it a true household activity. In fact, there are records of women brewers working in temples and breweries. Finally, let's talk about the social and cultural aspects of Egyptian beer. The ancient Egyptians considered beer a sacred drink, offering it to the gods as a way to keep them happy. They believed that beer could even help heal the sick, and it was commonly used as medicine. In addition to its religious and medicinal uses, beer was also a popular choice among laborers. For example, workers who built the pyramids were paid in part with beer rations. The ancient Egyptians loved their beer, and for good reason. It was a delicious, nutritious, and all-around awesome drink. So next time you raise a glass of beer, take a moment to appreciate the ancient Egyptians who perfected the art of brewing. If you like these facts, make sure to check out our other videos. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you want to see more.